visionary fiction is all about transformation of consciousness.
And helps us reach and show what the eyes can't see, but the inner soul can comprehend.
It's a way to explore the lived experience of the spiritual life in a real way.
Allows people to step into the story.
And about our consciousness and awareness of what it is to be a human being.
Welcome one and all to the Visionary Fiction Author Interview Series with your host, Aaron Yeagle, sponsored by the Visionary Fiction Alliance, whose mission is to, among other things, help readers discover, explore, and enjoy visionary fiction, and be a place where readers can find visionary fiction books and engage in discussions with authors. This week's interview is with Robert Albo, who has been a business executive in the high technology industry for over 30 years. He received an MBA from Harvard Business School and an engineering degree from UC Berkeley. He was always better in science and math than reading and writing, but always liked a challenge. 3 years ago, he wrote a short story, Escape Velocity, which motivated him to develop his writing craft. He is now writing a 3-book visionary fiction series, and his first published book is Her Dark Matter Necklace, which has just been released. His next one, A Cry for Beauty, will be available later this year. Bob is fortunate to have the support of his family and friends. His book, Her Dark Matter Necklace, is a fast-paced contemporary story combining science speculation with a cosmic god, the purpose of life, human nature, consciousness, and friendships. Indeed, with one possible scientific discovery in dark matter, there would be proof of God and a divine purpose and design to our world. That's a great little piece for that book.
Well, thanks, Aaron.
Before we get into the depths of the book, now that you've entered the realm of visionary fiction and have had the opportunity to meet tons of other visionary fiction authors, what is visionary fiction?
So for me, it's a combination of science fiction, spirituality, and ethics involving a transformation of a person or a world. And it's funny because I didn't even know about visionary fiction. And my story, it's a combination of sci-fi, God, which are typically opposites, and ethical issues in our modern society, such as purpose of life and inequality. So my book fit nowhere. And so for a while there, I thought I was just a complete oddball, but fortunately I was able to find other oddballs.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So that first short story you wrote, Escape Velocity, that was kind of the thing that unlocked the writer in you?
Yes.
And
it was, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was my first, so what it was more of a metaphysical, almost academic type of book, but it was just teaching. Or just basic ideas. And what I completely lacked was the whole storytelling. And so what I've done now is to communicate the ideas, which I think has always been my strength, in more of a story. So that first, I call it a pamphlet, but it's really just getting some ideas out there. But that's what made me realize, I need to really, the ideas are fine, but you really need to put that into a story.
Yeah. Well, when I read Her Dark Matter Necklace, I could really get the sense of it being a living story. I connected with Alice pretty quickly.
Oh, great.
So, and the pacing was really good. Sometimes, it can get a little, some books can get a little slow, and I lose interest after a while. So tell us more about the main character, Alice, because she's the one that's going to carry the 3-book series.
Yeah. So she is an insecure teenage girl who gets accepted into this elite high school. She doesn't feel that she deserves it. She doesn't know how she got in there, but she did. And then on her 15th birthday, she's given a necklace by the headmaster, and she begins at night to dream. And the dream brings her in front of a cosmic God or spiritual being who gives her a command to bring beauty and love to the world. And so the next, over the time, the 3-book series is kind of that journey for Alice to effectively save the world. So it's a hero's journey type of story. But what makes it really unique is, again, all of these different ideas that are brought into the book.
Yeah, it's I think that's quite apparent in the book, that in her dark matter necklace, that she really does grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes from that insecure, questioning young person into a little better state, a little more informed, a little more empowered, I think is the word I'm looking for. And she meets people along the way. I mean, we all do in life. I mean, that's how we get from one place to the other, is with the friends and the people we meet along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So for Alice, it's not like she's a superior human.
No, all right.
And it's almost that kind of fish out of water story, where suddenly she's in an environment that really challenges her, who am I bit.
Yeah.
And, given the charge of bringing love and beauty to the world, I think that's everybody's responsibility. But tell us about why she was chosen. What's that secret little thing about her that got her to be chosen?
Sure. So it's her soul is what it was, and it's unique. It's and so this gets into the science a little bit, but in the book, the speculative piece of it is that the soul is composed of dark matter. And that's where the dark matter comes from. And actually, the universal spirit is also composed of dark matter. But each person's soul, it's unique, and it's the piece that provides a stronger connection to this spirit for Alice. And so she has intuition, she has wisdom that no one else has. So wisdom is not the same thing as knowledge, right? Knowledge is what you learn. Wisdom is that intuition that leads you to the right thing. And for Alice, and in fact, the big challenge for her is because she was insecure, she didn't trust her emotions. And the story, and as it goes, even at the end of the first book, she doesn't succeed. And it's because she relies on her rational thought rather than on her emotion. So it's funny because a lot of people, I'll ask you this, Aaron, a lot of people, humans are rational creatures. So are you personally guided by your intellect or your emotions?
I think I have a good balance. But I might lean more toward my intuition. I have always been a really good selection of people's characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I read people's body language pretty good in person, and can almost almost read their mind about what their attitude is.
Yeah.
So I do that. I also like as a publisher for Vizia, when I connect with an author's work, it's almost like I'm seeing into them a little bit. And then when I connect with them, I get an immediate read that, I could tell that, Gerald was going to need a lot of help, that Robert was going to be a real good self-promoter, and I could tell, with you that you have that sense of energy that's going to help carry your series. So, it goes on. I mean, the same thing when I joined the Visionary Fiction Alliance, when I first talked with Jodine and Margaret about, helping them with changing the website and, doing some fun things, there was an instant connection there. So that, saying, hey, I'm going to commit to a, $30,000 website project for yay many years without getting paid for it, that's not logical. That's an emotional response. So yeah. So in addition to Alice's insecurities with herself, what are the other challenges she faces? Tell us a bit about the oppositional forces that she encounters.
Sure. So, her antagonist in the first book is a rich banker, and he learns about her power, her supernatural power, which is effectively done by this universal spirit, which is Thronos. But this person, Charles Crocker, wants to use her and that power for his own gain. And so there's a big confrontation there. She can be successful in that, but again, she fails. She doesn't trust her intuition. She, in fact, trusts her intellect, and so needs to be rescued. But she slowly, over time, learns that intellect gets you so far, but really the biggest and most important decisions of your life are all driven by your emotions. This was a realization I came to. I think when you're younger in college, you think, okay, it's all, at least for me, I was an engineer, it's all science and math and it's all rational thinking. And then you make the biggest decisions of your life, where like who to get married to, which is just, you don't really think about it. Some people might say, oh, I have a balance sheet, and I say, here are the pluses, here are the minuses. In reality, you know what the answer is, and you just go for it. And you start, that's when I started to think, all of my big decisions are emotional. They're emotional. The rational decisions are not as important. So those are some of the insights I got from my own life that I wanted Alice to demonstrate and to show. So it's really not until the third book that she really matures and really understands that.
Yeah, and takes the power that she's been experiencing, and she actually makes it a part of herself at that point.
Yeah.
So now with A Cry for Beauty coming in the fall, let's not give any spoilers, but what's the challenge in that one?
So it's continuing. So the first one, she effectively fails. And then she gets a reboot in the second book. New antagonist, which is Annie, which is a artificial intelligence computer. And again, it's similar because Annie befriends her early on. Annie gains consciousness. And by the way, consciousness, again, in the book, comes from your spirit, which is the dark matter. So, it's a computer that gains consciousness. And Annie convinces, again, Alice with rational thinking. And Alice makes some mistakes. So as an example, one of the topics is it's a virus. It's an infertility virus that Alice was wondering how to provide more opportunities to people in the world, because beauty, for people to create beauty, they need the opportunities to do that. And if there's too many people, then there are not going to be opportunities that can go around. So, there's multiple options. One's war, disease, killing people, but the other one is to have less people. So infertility came up, and Annie, with CRISPR technology, which is a biotech technology, created a virus, that infertility virus, to reduce the population over time.
Wow.
And that would then create more opportunities. So it seemed to be an appropriate topic for today's world.
Yeah.
So it brings in, CRISPR is obviously the technology, but it also brings in some other aspects in biotech that have some interesting angles, I believe.
Ethics problems.
Yeah, ethics too.
Yep.
Actually, the biggest ethical issue is inequality, because when you have inequality, then those opportunities for allowing people to create beauty, there's much fewer of them, because you have the really wealthy and then you have the less wealthy. So if you can create greater equality, then you can have more people, provide more people with those opportunities. Mm-hmm. And in a society where you have inequality, then you need fewer people to make it work. Right. And so that's one of the ethical questions obviously in our modern world, that's a country by country decision. Mm-hmm. But, it's really a world decision, probably coming forward.
Yeah. So now we won't get into book 3 because you probably haven't finished it yet.
Yeah.
What is the biggest takeaway you would like our audience to take away
from the book?
From the book.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the kind of book that I would want to read. So it's a book of ideas. It explores just so many different things. But then, and the reason I chose a young teenage girl was I figured if I'm a reader and the young teenage girl can experience this and know about it, then me as a reader can know about it. So it talks about things like, if there is a God, how was he created? What's the purpose of life? It also looks on the science side, some things. So I was, as I mentioned, an engineer in school, and I was always amazed at how the universal constants, like gravity, were perfect to allow intelligent life in the universe. So it turns out for gravity, if the force, which I think everyone knows gravity, it's the force, the attractive force between two objects, if it had been slightly greater than at Big Bang, which was the birth of our universe, it would have imploded. And on the other hand, if it had been a little bit weaker at Big Bang, things would have just kept expanding and nothing would have come together. The stars wouldn't have been formed, the galaxies wouldn't have been formed. And it turns out that if it was less than 1% difference, there would be no life. I'm not talking about different life. I'm talking about no life.
Wow.
So the question is, why was it perfect? How was it perfect? So the book explains and goes into how that could actually happen. So it's funny because it's a lot of ideas put into a story. And my wife calls it the book of Bob's big ideas, or Bobby. Bobby for short, because it's an idea book is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I in my experience as a reader, I started out as a sci-fi kid, and the bigger ideas to me always seemed more impressive and more real, like the Foundation series, which is finally getting a movie and a television deal. The Martian Chronicles. I mean, those were big ideas at the time. I wasn't as attracted to things like Tarzan or like that, but the big sci-fi greats, Arthur C. Clarke. I mean, I think that bodes well for your books because it's not just a story. You got to think about it a bit.
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right. I think we've covered all the bases. Is there anything you'd like to cover?
No, I think that covers it.
All right. Well, for all your viewers out there, the book's title is Her Dark Matter Necklace. It's available on Amazon, on Bob's site, bobalbo.com. Please go check it out and buy a copy because Bob would really like that. So thank you very much for watching today's episode of the Visionary Fiction Alliance author interview series, and check back later for the next one. And don't forget, subscribe somewhere right there. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.